Once you've created an animation in 3D Studio Max, you can preview it by going to the Render menu and selecting Make Preview. This will create an AVI file, a small AVI file that will let you preview the motion of your animation. When I click on this, I get the Make Preview Perspective window. It does a preview of the perspective window because that was the currently selected window when I went to the Render menu. There are a number of different settings here. There are the preview range, frame rate, image size, display in preview, rendering level, output. The preview range lets me determine or tell 3D Studio Max what part of my animation I want to preview. I can preview the active time segment by leaving this checked, or I can select a custom range and just tell 3D Studio Max to render a preview for frames 31 to 78, for example. I'm going to leave this at the full range, and I'm going to click on active segment so I see the whole thing. I can change the frame rate of my preview, so I can make a lower frame rate or a higher frame rate for my preview. And I can also tell it to render every first frame, every second, third frame, so you can render just chunks of it so you can get a rough idea of what your animation is going to look like. You can also change the rendering size. Right now I have it set to 50% size. I can change this to higher, up to 66, or lower, down to 1. I can also change what I display in my preview. Right now I'm telling 3D Studio Max that I only want to see geometry, particle systems, and any background information, movies or pictures. I can turn on shapes, lights, cameras, helpers, space warps, the active grid, safe frames, and frame numbers. I'm going to check on frame numbers. So when I create my preview now, it'll show the frame number in the corner. I can also change the rendering level. I can have smooth with highlights, smooth, facets and highlights, facets, lit wireframe, or bounding box. I'm going to leave this on smooth and highlights. In the output section I can choose an AVI file, a custom file type, or to use a device. So if I have a video recorder, I can write directly to the video recorder. If you select AVI, which is what I'm going to use, you can choose the codec. The codec stands for Code Decode. This lets you select a software compression algorithm with which to write your AVI file. And I can choose a codec by clicking on this. I can use Indio or Cinepack or any one of these other compression algorithms. Or I can choose no compression at all. I'm going to use the Indio and leave the compression quality at 85. I'll have a keyframe every 15 seconds. I can get information about this codec, or I can configure the codec by clicking here. I click OK. It's telling me that my render viewport is the perspective viewport, and when I click Create, it'll start creating my perspective preview. Now it's creating my preview. You can see it's writing each keyframe, and it's putting the keyframe number in the upper left-hand corner. I can see my timeline moving along, and I can see the Creating Preview progress bar right here. It's showing me how far along, as far as progress goes, my preview is. Right now it's almost halfway there. This button here lets me cancel. If I click cancel, it'll stop making the preview. So I will only have, in this case, 45 or 46 frames. I'm going to let this continue. When it's finished, it's going to write an AVI file. That AVI file is going to be my preview, and I'll be able to play it at full speed to see how my animation looks at full speed. Using previews is a great way to be able to get a good sense of how your animation looks for motion. It's good to preview your animation when you're getting towards the end of the process so that you can see where you need to slow down or speed up a given part of your animation, or whether objects are not positioned correctly. It looks like my preview is finished, And now it opens up the media player. Once the media player is open, I can press play and view my preview. You can see the frames ticking away in the upper left-hand corner because I asked it to show me the frames. I can step through forward or backwards and see specific frames. I can also drag. You can see that it's going to every 15th frame because I have a keyframe every 15 frames. When I'm done, I close the media player and it closes my preview. If I want to view my preview again, go to the Render menu, select View Preview, and it opens up my preview, and there it is again. If I want to change the name of my preview, I go to Rename Preview, and it lets me rename my preview. Use previews to check the motion of your animation.